Club in Andover, Massachusetts, and today we're going to have a meeting of the Toastmasters Club. Now, you may have never been to a Toastmasters Club before, you may have never seen a Toastmasters Club before, but today you're going to not only see one, but you're going to experience one. Because the best way to learn to speak publicly is to do it. And that is really the most important part of Toastmasters, is learning to speak publicly with confidence and poise. In addition to learning to speak publicly, Toastmasters also helps us learn to lead. Learn to lead by example, learn to lead by being responsible, and learn to lead by mentoring and critiquing and helping other people do what they want to do. Today's meeting we're holding in Somerville, Massachusetts, and we would like to thank the Somerville Community Access Television for letting us come here today to do this meeting. This is a wonderful opportunity for us. The people who are here with us are all amateur speakers. We're all learning. We're all diamonds in the rough. None of us are professionals. And so this is an opportunity for us to practice the skills that we are learning, that we are developing, and hopefully improving every time we do this. Today in the Toastmasters meeting, you will see a variety of different roles. You'll see people come up and speak. You'll see people come up to speak who have already prepared their speeches. And you're also going to have an opportunity to speak and listen to others speak who have not had any preparation. We'll get to that in a little bit. In addition to speaking, you will also have the opportunity to critique each other. After each person, or after the end of all the speeches, we have a time where we have evaluators come up and give evaluations of speeches. When I first joined Toastmasters, I didn't realize how important this part of the club was. But the evaluations are really what sets Toastmasters apart. Because it's one thing to come up and speak. It's another thing to stand there or to listen to the critiques that other people have of your speeches, but that's really what helps us to improve. And personally, it has also helped me learn how to give a good critique. To be honest with you, when I first started giving critiques, I was very, very harsh. And so I've had to learn how to be more open and more affirming in my evaluations. Anyway, we'll get to that later as time permits. We have today 3 speeches by 3 different speakers, and we'll get to those in about 2 minutes, but I would first of all like to introduce our word master for today's meeting, who is Nancy Jones. Would you please put your hands together and welcome Nancy Jones.
Thank you, Tom. The word for today is one that is completely overused in our society, one that causes many people to cringe, and others just use it unconsciously. The word is awesome. For me, it is something that inspires wonder. I'm not sure what it is for everybody else, but there's the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. You might observe that Toastmasters has a custom of clapping in between each speaker, and this is a way of affirming them and that we've heard them and we appreciate them. My challenge for you with the word awesome is to use it appropriately and not to overuse it. Great. Thank you, Nancy. Our next guest here to the podium will be Jojo Laricia. Jojo, would you like to come and get us laughing today? Please welcome Jojo.
Thank you, Tom. So this guy goes into church, and he's in a pew, and in front of him, there's this woman, and she has a dress on, and she has a really big butt, and her dress is stuck in the crack of her butt. So the guy's thinking, should I do something about this? So he decides to pull the dress out of the butt. Well, the woman turned around and slugged him in the face. And so he goes home. He sees his wife, and his wife said, "What happened?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I saw this woman. She had a dress stuck in the crack of her butt, and I figured that I would do her a favor and take the dress out." And she says, "I can't believe you did this." So the following week, the guy goes back to church, and wouldn't you know it, he's sitting right behind the same woman. And her dress is, normal. It's good. So he gets her dress, and he sticks it in her butt. She slugs him again. Anyway, he goes home, and his wife said, "What happened now?" And he says, "Well, I knew how upset it got her the first week. I decided to stick it back in her butt this week." The end.
All right. Thank you, Jojo. That was unexpectedly funny. Okay. I should have said, Nancy, back to you, that one of Nancy's other roles besides giving us a word of the day to use is to keep track of our ums and ahs during our speeches. So that helps you guys keep track of that as well, and also to keep track of our grammatical mistakes. Wonderful. Now we're going to move to the main part of our meeting, which is our prepared speeches. And we have 3 speakers today. By the way, this is a 1-hour meeting. We'll be ending by 5 minutes till 9. And this is typical of our meetings at Toastmasters. We have our meetings at lunchtime from 12 to 1. We start religiously at 12, and we always end by 1 o'clock because everybody's got to get back to work. So Toastmasters can be convenient like that for those who need those lunchtime meetings. Our first speaker today is Ken File. Ken is actually new to our club, and we're very, very happy to have Ken in our club. Ken will be speaking from 5 to 7 minutes. And by the way, for those who, you can't see this, but maybe you won't be able to see this, but Stephen will actually be holding up a card at 5 minutes that says green, 6 minutes that says yellow, and 7 minutes that says red. And Ken will need to finish his speech between 5 and 7 minutes. Ken, would you please come up to the podium for your first speech? Get to the point.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, my name is Ken File, and I'm president of KBS Enterprises, and we're starting a brand new 8-year investor fund called Taurus Fund, and we're raising $10 million to purchase large portfolios of charged-off consumer credit card debt and collecting on those accounts. We're targeting a conservative 12% average annual return over the life of the fund, and what we provide is a portfolio diversification option for our investors, for our high net worth individuals and family offices who manage their money. So what is the opportunity? What makes us different? What do we actually buy and how are we doing? Let's get into it. So what is the opportunity? Last year in 2011, over $60 billion of credit card debt was charged off by the nation's banks. That's $20 billion over industry normal volume. We buy these assets at a discounted price, and then we target a 300% gross return on those assets over a 3 to 4 year period. We're positioned right now to take advantage of this enormous economic opportunity. And as the economy improves, and as people get back to work, their ability to pay also improves. So now what makes us different? Well, in the accounts receivable industry, it's largely dominated by aggressive litigation and quite frankly, abusive debt collection practices. And we just flat out refuse to use litigation in our collection strategies. We feel there's a better way to do business. There's a better way to treat people. We only use collection agencies that we vet out that treat people with dignity, respect, and compassion. Our collection agencies actually get thank you letters from our customers. It's unheard of. We also focus on the negotiations themselves. It's working out the best financial solution with our customers. And in many cases, this takes the form of a long-term payment plan with a smaller monthly payment. Or if it fits our customer's situation, it may be a one-time lump sum discounted payment. Whatever the case may be, these two strategies, treating people with dignity and respect and working out the best financial solution, ensures that we end up being one of the few creditors that gets paid each month with the limited funds that they do have. Can I tell you a story? I used to be one of those customers. I was one of those millions of Americans living paycheck to paycheck and had to pay my taxes one year and found out that there's a mistake on my W-2 form. I had to make tough choices to make. I had to pay my rent. I had to pay for food. I needed electricity. I needed heat. And that left nothing to pay my credit card bill. And of course, what happened? Those aggressive phone calls started coming. I was embarrassed. I didn't know what to do. I was confused. I never expected to be in that situation. And there are millions of Americans right now getting these phone calls. They're being abused, they're being threatened, and they're being sued. But imagine how awesome it would be. It's if the person on the other end of the phone call said, yeah, we are calling about that debt. But what happened? Tell us that first. We want to understand. We want to help you. Let's figure this out together. That's what we're committed to. It's a better way to do business. It's a better way to treat people. So what do we actually buy? We buy portfolios of credit card debt of A and B credit rated people when they are first initially given credit, right from the credit issuing bank. The reason? It's not a matter of if these customers are going to recover, it's a matter of when. We also focus on portfolios that have an average balance of $3,000 to $8,000. The reason? It's easier to set up a payment plan or a discounted lump sum payment on smaller balances. We also focus on fresh and primary charged off accounts. So what are these terms? Fresh charge off accounts are when someone hasn't been able to pay their credit card bill for 6 months and no one has attempted to collect on that account. Primary paper is when one collection agency has attempted to collect on those charged off accounts, but hasn't been successful at it yet. That's gold in the credit industry. We're buying high quality, distressed accounts. So how are we doing? In the past 2 years, KBS Enterprises has $2.85 million of charged off credit card debt for about an average of 6.3 cents on the dollar. And when people are settling with us, they're settling at over 50% of what they actually owe. And over the last 5 quarters, we've seen continuous revenue growth, an averaging 65% growth each quarter. So at KBS and Taurus Fund, we're positioned right now to take advantage of this enormous economic opportunity to buy these high-quality distressed assets, provide a solid return to our investors, while treating our customers with dignity and respect. We actually help people get out of debt for less than what they owe and actually make money while doing it. So if you're looking for an alternative investment vehicle that you're looking for to do something good with your investment dollars and help people get out of debt for less than they owe and make money while doing it, look to Taurus Fund and invest in Taurus Fund. Make a difference. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much, Ken. This is a good example of the kinds of reasons people get into Toastmasters. One of the reasons is to improve their sales presentations. So other people get into it because they want to be a better speaker in church. Some people might want to get into it because they want to be able to give a class at a community college or something like that. There's all different reasons why people want to improve their ability to communicate. We had a new member join our club recently who is going to college now, and somebody said, you know, you really could improve your communications ability, and so she decided to join Toastmasters. And she doesn't have a specific objective, but she knows that whatever she does in life, she's going to need to somehow be able to communicate things that are important to her. Thank you, Ken. Our second speech will be given by your very own Michael McCarthy, and we are very pleased to have Michael. Michael is actually going to be giving a speech that will be what we call in Toastmasters the icebreaker. The icebreaker is usually your first speech that you give when you join a club, and it's something about your life, something that's happened to you or something that you've done, an experience that you've had that you would like to share with other people, something that you're very familiar with and comfortable talking about. And the title of Michael's speech is The White Light. Would you please welcome Michael?
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Good evening. I almost died on the 4th of July playing a practical joke. About 4 years ago, a good friend of mine calls and says, I rented a big house in Cape Cod, and I'd like to give you a room for free for the week. So I thought, that's awesome. Great, let's go. So I show up, I was very grateful for having the free room, and I wanted to do something nice in appreciation. But I wanted it to be unique. So I had a reputation back then of being a slob. Everyone knew that I was just kind of messy. So there were 12 guys in the house, and I thought, well, why don't I just play a little joke? I will be the Merry Maid of Provincetown, and no one will know it was me. So all the guys go to the beach. I'm left at home. I start making the beds. I'm putting little chocolates on the pillows. I start doing the laundry. So around, 5 o'clock, they come streaming home. I'm sitting at the bar, just quietly sipping my martini, just waiting. Hey, who made my bed? Why is there a chocolate on my pillow? Who folded my clothes? And I was just sitting here thinking, no one's thinking it's me. So I was so entertained personally by it, I did it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. But all of a sudden, I started to notice that there was this funny smell in the house. Kind of smelled like vomit. And I had to open up all the windows. Well, when the guys came home, they closed all the windows because they wanted the air conditioning. And they didn't smell it, but I did. And then I started to lose my memory. And then they started to kind of complain about my behavior, like taking 3-hour showers. So I didn't think anything was wrong, but they did. And I woke up around 3 o'clock in the morning. I walked into the bathroom, and my hair had fallen out, all of it. So I knew something was wrong. So I borrowed my friend's car keys. I went back home to my lake, went to bed. I thought there's something smelly in the house that got me sick. Next morning I get up. I'm sitting outside by my lake, and I'm falling asleep. And I realized I was dying. And I didn't really mind. I just kind of reviewed my life and was like, I've had a really good life, and this is kind of, it's okay. It's fine. And the phone rang. And it was a phone call from someone who never, ever calls. My mother. And I just started screaming in the phone, I'm dying. Like, I'm dying now. So she called my neighbor. My neighbor brought me to Beverly Hospital. They hooked me up to all the machines. For some reason, I'm walking like a little ape, and my blood pressure was 220 over 127. And they said, we think you're having a stroke. And I go, really? I swim 15 miles a week. And they're like, we think you're having a stroke. Look at the machine. And I said, oh, okay, that's fine. So they let me sit in the room. Another guy comes in, and he says, what's your DNR policy? And I said, that's do not resuscitate, right? He goes, yeah. I go, well, keep me plugged in. And could you put some hollandaise sauce by my nightstand in case I turn into a vegetable? And he looks at me and he's like, why are you cracking jokes? I go, it's my life. And if this is my last few minutes, I'm going to laugh about it. So he takes off. Then I'm like lying in bed, close my eyes, and all of a sudden, I see the white light. Not a tunnel, just a whole bunch of white light. And I thought, oh, wow, this is it. So I thought I was in a waiting room. I'm waiting for St. Peter to come in and give me my, I don't know, intro seminar or whatever. And nothing happened. And I'm there for, it seemed like a very long time. And I thought, well, I guess they're having a busy day. There are a lot of car accidents, so I'll just continue to wait. I thought, what else am I going to do? It's not like I can leave. So I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And now I start to get impatient. And I thought, well, if God is out there and there's this all-knowing thing, then there must be a reason why I'm waiting. And it stayed quiet. And all of a sudden, a thought came into my mind. You get to decide if you want to go back or stay. And I thought, I'm really a curious person. I think it'd be really cool to kind of float around the universe and just sort of see what's out there. And I've had a very nice life, so it really was a decision. And then I thought, well, my mother would be devastated, so that played a role. And then I thought, now comes in my logical side, well, I'm 45. I probably have another 50 years or so left in me, but when you're an angel or a consciousness or whatever, that's for infinity. So just by doing the math, I said, I'm going to go back. Nothing happened. I'm waiting forever. Finally, I start screaming, and I yell at the top of my lungs, am I dead yet? And I look up, and right in front of me is this big white light. I'm like, It was the light in the emergency room ceiling. I go, is that it? All these conversations, all these books about the white light, and it was the light bulb in the ceiling in the hospital. So I hope I've demystified a few of nature's greatest questions. Thank you.
Wow, what a great story. What a great speech. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. I should say that I today am responsible for evaluating Michael's speech. And the way this works in Toastmasters, I have this kind of list of things that I'm looking for in Michael's speech. So I'll be filling that kind of information out and giving that a little bit later. But excellent. Thank you for that, Michael. Our third speaker today is Marjolin Brugman. And Marjolin is also a guest of Toastmasters. And Marjolin will be giving a speech whose theme is Inspire Your Audience. And the title of her speech is What Aero Pilates Can Do for Everyone, Young and Old. Marjolin, thank you.
Thank you. So what is Aero Pilates? Everybody wants to know that, but I'm not going to tell you that right away. First of all, I want to talk about awesome. Having grown up in Australia, where the word awesome was never used, I came to Boston for the very first time about 25 years ago. And I was at a party and someone said something and they said, "Oh, that's so awesome." And I thought, oh, what a fabulous word. What an amazing word to use when you're describing something that is really awe-inspiring. Only to find out much later that it was used all the time in all the inappropriate ways. So anyway, today I have an opportunity to share with you a story about myself. My mother always said, you've got to look for the best in everything, the silver lining, the rainbow. Well, about 18 years ago, I had a devastating accident that actually turned into a really awesome opportunity. So I was out running one day as a single mother, tortured by my job. I was a television producer. So in the studio here, you know what that's like. It's 100-hour weeks. You're working around the clock. You're constantly stressed. And so running was my way of relieving that tension and that stress every day. So I went out running in the hills of New Mexico one very early morning, and my shoelace came undone. So I ran over to the side of the road, which wasn't a paved road, it was a dirt road, and bent down to tie my shoe. And fortunately, I was facing away from the pavement or the road behind me, in the bushes. And the next thing I know, I'm lying flat on my back, looking up at a woman who is looking down at me, screaming, and I couldn't feel anything. So I had basically been hit by a car, thrown up in the air, landed in the middle of the road, and she had done about $2,000 worth of damage to her car and noticed that there was a body lying in the middle of the road, so came running back. Poor thing had turned around to look at a small child in the back and hadn't seen me and hit me. So off to the hospital, and months of rehabilitation and other forms of trying to recover. I really didn't think I'd ever run again. So my orthopedist says to me one day, "Marjolin, there's an amazing studio here in Santa Fe, New Mexico that teaches Pilates, and I think that you would really benefit from it." Well, I'd never heard of Pilates. I had played sports, I had been very athletic and active, but I'd never heard of Pilates. So I trotted off into the studio thinking, what is this? How will this help me? Signed up for 3 classes a week for 1 month, which insurance was paying for, fortunately. And after the first week, I remember lying on this piece of equipment that looks like a torture machine. It's very odd, it's very strange, and realizing that I was really beginning to see and feel a difference in everything. My lower body, which had been trashed in this accident, was starting to heal. The pain in my neck that I'd had for years was starting to go away. I felt like I could stand taller. People were starting to notice things about me that were different. So while I was healing this injury, I began to see this amazing change in my posture, in my confidence, in my ability to walk. And I became really fascinated. Who was Joe Pilates? Why did he develop this machine? And what is so special about this machine that is not readily available in anything else out there in the world of fitness. And having been a television producer in the infomercial world, I realized, this is the next infomercial product. And I'm not going to make money for all of them. I'm going to make money for me. So I set a goal that day that was to get a Pilates machine into every home in the world, because I really could see the benefits of it, not just physically in terms of weight loss and toning and strengthening, but really what it does for mind, body, spirit connection, and the whole way in which you move through life. So if you think about the human body, what Joe Pilates realized is that there are really two sets of muscles. And he was very familiar with training ballet dancers, particularly injured ballet dancers back in the 1920s. And as he was healing their injuries, he realized that if he could lie your body down and you could continue to make the movements that you make in the vertical position with some resistance, without any impact or stress or weight on the joints, you can actually heal injuries and fix imbalances in the body that come from repetitive stress when you're standing. The other thing that he realized is that you have two sets of muscles. So you have internal stabilizing muscles that actually hold your body up so you don't fall into a heap. And you have mobilizing muscles that you use every day when you're walking, moving, hauling groceries, lifting your children. In day-to-day life, we use our mobilizing muscles all the time. But what we don't realize is that we don't move the right way. So lying on this machine, making these movements, you actually learn how to initiate movements from the stabilizing muscles, from the internal muscles, some of which are abdominals and interior thigh muscles, etc. And then when you begin to initiate movement that way, the mobilizing muscles can actually do a better job of moving. So like a crane, if the base of the crane is stable, then the arm of the crane can do a lot more work. So I went to work to develop the first little affordable machine. Those machines back in those days were thousands of dollars. And for the last 18 years have been talking to people about the benefits of Aero Pilates. Aero being a little trampoline that I developed 4 years ago because I got stress fractures in my feet from running too much. So finally there is a way to lie down, get cardiovascular workout, tone and strengthen, lengthen, improve your posture, change how you move. It addresses all ailments, helps older people all the way down to younger people. I think my 11-year-old started at 11 and loves it. It's made his baseball game better, all the way to my 91-year-old mother, who has been able to recover from some of her stroke injury. So I'm hoping that I inspired all of you today, not only with adversity becoming an amazingly awesome opportunity, but that you might actually incorporate Aero Pilates into your life, and that'll help me reach my goal of getting a machine into every home in the world. Thank you.
We've had 3 awesome speeches today. I need to say that if you join Toastmasters, you don't already have to be a proficient, incredible speaker like our 3 have been today. You can join and not know anything about speaking and start from square one. But you guys were terrific, just terrific. At this point now, we're going to switch our focus from prepared speeches to extemporaneous speeches, and Stephen is going to handle that, so please welcome Stephen. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Tom. So we don't always have an opportunity to spend days, weeks, months, or years planning a speech. Sometimes we're called on to speak right now on a subject. It could be in the middle of a business meeting or at a school function. When you have an opportunity to say something, the moment is now, and later doesn't count. So today we're going to give a couple people an opportunity to speak this way. And the particular topic I have is something that happens to all of us, or to some of us anyway. Some people in the week, and they say TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It's 5 o'clock. I'm out of here. I'm going to start living my life now from 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon until, God forbid, 8 o'clock on Monday morning. But other people, about 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning Monday, are ready to get out of bed. They're itching to go. They're excited, they're passionate about what they do. And this is a topic of our conversation today and table topics. I'd like to invite Nancy to come up and tell us why she is excited to get up early in the morning on Monday and do her thing. Nancy?
Thank you, Steve. Well, the interesting thing is, I just retired. However, I have to say that for all the time that I have been working with the National Park Service at Longfellow House, Washington's headquarters National Historic Site in Cambridge, I loved my job. It was my third career, my first being a teacher of Spanish, my second being a college administrator and professional fundraiser, and the third career was leaving fundraising and going back to school in my 40s to study fine arts and graphic design. That led me to get a master's degree when I was approximately 50, which then led me to working at the Longfellow House, which has a fantastic collection of 700,000 documents and 35,000 objects. And with my master's degree in art history, I was able to have a career in my mid-50s. I worked with wonderful people, a small staff of 5 dedicated individuals. We were a family. We loved what we did. But I finally decided at age 66 it was time to retire, and so I did. Now I'm starting another chapter in my life, and that is the goal to pursue some acting or professional performance, being an extra in movies. And that's what I have started this week. And getting up in the morning has been fun for so many years, and I expect it will continue to be fun for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. We get to use the word now. That's an awesome example of an impromptu or extemporaneous speech. Our next example will be given by JoJo. If you could come and tell us what you find exciting and what makes life passionate for you when you get up in the morning.
Thank you, Stephen. Well, life for me is just a very happy experience. I have made a commitment to myself and to the world that I would spread happiness that's contagious all the time. So that's my big commitment. And one of the ways that I'm doing this presently is I am doing a inbox magazine, which is like a paper magazine, but it's I'm saying I'm catching myself. That's not too awesome. Positive Living Magazine is a web magazine where people go to be inspired. We are covering topics that include the mind, the body, and the soul. And it's being released very soon. And one of our topics that we're doing, we came across this woman who lives in Bristol, Rhode Island. And she is dedicating her 4th of July to people, military people all around the world, and creating what we call the Freedom Tree. And this Freedom Tree is decorated with all patriotic ornaments. It's a Christmas tree. It's quite astounding. So we want to inspire people. As a matter of fact, I'd love to do a piece with Marjolin about Pilates, about the body, because I think it's great. You have so much to offer. So we're looking for people like Marjolin, people that have positive stories, because there's too much bad news. And we want to keep people happy and upbeat. So that's going to be Positive Living Magazine, so keep an eye out for it. Thank you.
Thank you, JoJo. So we have time for another positive example. And Eric, would you please give us one from your life? Thank you, Eric.
Did you say positive?
I did.
Did you say, why do I get excited about getting up in the morning? You asked the wrong guy. Because if my wife and daughter were here, they would say, oh, he can sleep till noon if he gets the chance. But there are some days when I'm really excited to get up in the morning. And it's usually when I've got something new in my life, kind of new and exciting, and I do. I mean, you saw my bees the other day. I just became a beekeeper. And I can't wait. I actually can wait. I get up pretty excited in the morning to go and see what my bees are doing. So I sit by the hive and watch them going in and out. It's like this little airport where the bees are coming in and out, and it's temperature dependent. It's dependent on the light. I can see how much sugar water they're drinking because this time of year you give them, or beekeepers give them sugar water to help them get more energy to build out the hive because it's a new hive. So that's pretty exciting. Other than that, nothing really. I can sleep till noon. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It's an awesome beehive.
I'm glad to hear that. We have about 1 minute for a volunteer to come up and add to the stories that we've heard so far. Would anyone like to volunteer? Hey, Michael? Thank you.
So I was a money manager. I retired when I was 36, and retirement wasn't very good. It was boring. So what I ended up doing now is I learned, since I was retired, that makes me depressed and anxious. And I tried everything to fix that. Pills, the whole thing. None of that worked. What did work was food, good nutrition. So I started a food company for what's called neurological functional food. Basically, I make food that helps your brain to put you into a good mood, because there's nothing worse than not wanting to wake up during the day. And if this is my way of helping the world without a thank you, I don't need that thank you. If I can spread it throughout the world by making good tasting food that helps your brain and makes you feel good, now I have a purpose that I'm very proud of.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you, everyone. So our next phase in our meeting, we will now evaluate and give feedback.
Okay.
Tom, would you like to introduce that?
Yes, thank you, Stephen. I'm so pleased with the stuff that we've had so far. I am very, very thrilled. I feel a little bit like Jack Dawson when he said, you know, a little while ago I was playing cards and here I am getting to hang out with all you interesting people. It's great. This is an important part now of our meeting, the evaluation phase. And who will be running that is our general evaluator. Let's welcome back Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Let me explain for a minute how this works. Each of the speakers was assigned an evaluator. I'm going to be doing one of those specific evaluations, but I'm also doing the general evaluation. So I'm evaluating the meeting itself, other components of the meeting that have gone on now and actually a little bit further on. So I'm going to start by inviting our first evaluator to come up. Oh, that's me. And I'm evaluating Ken. Now, Ken is working out of this book. This is one of the Toastmaster books where you have various projects. And Ken's project was Get to the Point. So there's a description in here on what it's like to get to the point, what kind of elements you need to get to the point, opening, closing, and so on. The topic for Ken's speech was making a difference. And Ken's clearly done a lot of speaking in his life, and he's clearly a good salesman. So I'm going to be a little bit rough on him because I know you can take it, and I just want to say to our audience, I'm looking out there as if there's an audience right there. All you people behind the cameras. When you come to Toastmasters, most of the evaluations are actually just building, and we're trying to reinforce those things in your speaking which are valuable, which contribute to good speaking, and trying to get you to see those things which aren't necessarily the best. Now, I think what happened here was your title was making a difference, but you're a good salesman and you flipped into sales mode in this talk. You might have noticed that yourself, perhaps, going through. I'm actually going to say at the end of this that I think you should do this again. Okay. It's a good topic because I know from speaking to you, you are making a difference in the way the industry runs and the way people are treated when they have debt problems. Right. That came through a little bit, but you're a salesman. Yeah. So let's just talk about some of the aspects of your speaking. Good use of body language, actually excellent use of body language. I think it's just natural to you for using body language. We have a microphone here, so you can't stray so much from the podium. We'll see how you do without a microphone when we get back to the club in the conference room we usually use. But normally you want to use the room more, and you didn't have the opportunity to do that today. there's several different aspects of the speech evaluation that are listed here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll go through 2 or 3 of them. One is the general purpose of your speech, was it clear? The general purpose of your speech was clear. Did you meet the purpose? I think not. I didn't walk away understanding how you made a difference in the lives of the people you're serving. I understood how well your company's doing and how you're trying to do good through that company. And those are both good things, but it wasn't the topic of your speech today. You got to the wrong point. But you got to that point. I think you're used to getting that point. How much time do I have here?
2 to 3.
Yeah. And I'll just take one other one. You rushed your conclusion. I think you suddenly realized that you're out of time. You didn't pace yourself very well, which you could have done, and you will next time. I know you will. But it was a really good speech. It was just the wrong speech. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to now bring up Tom. Tom is doing our second evaluation. Please,
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. I had the privilege of evaluating Michael's speech. This is called the Icebreaker, which is, as I mentioned, the very first speech in the Competent Communication Manual. And it's not intended to be rigorous. It's intended to be encouraging. Get up here, have the courage to stand up here and speak, and you did that. We normally, in an icebreaker, are very positive. Great job. You did and Michael, even without all that, sincerely, it was an excellent speech. It was an excellent speech. It was a sincere speech. You were able to talk about something that was important to you, and it became important to us because of the way you said it. And I felt real compassion on you when you were starting to go under, and you didn't realize it. You knew something was wrong, but I was like, man, I'm so glad that he came through this and that that he's here with us today. So it was a very, very good speech. You've clearly spoken a lot. You're very comfortable up here. You had great body language, great eye contact. You weren't scattered. You weren't saying ums a lot. You had no notes. You're obviously very used to this. I don't know if you've told this story a lot. Maybe you've told this particular story a lot. Maybe you've told it a few times. It seemed like you had told it and were very comfortable with it. So if you haven't told it a lot, it really speaks well to your ability to speak. The only thing I was sort of wishing maybe you could have had a bit more of was in your conclusion. If you could have explained a little bit about what really did happen to you. Maybe you don't want to revert to medicalese at the end, but you could say something about, I found out that I did have a stroke, or I had a heart attack, or I had something, or an aneurysm, or whatever it was, and thank God, or whatever, that I pulled away from the light and I could be here with you folks today. Just something to kind of clear up, what was the mystery? What was it that happened to you? Was it the chocolates? Was it something in the environment? Was it your aftershave? Something to end the mystery, but it was a terrific, an awesome speech, Michael.
Thank you.
And I might add, I'm glad you clarified the whole shining light thing. I've been wondering about that for a long time. We're actually running a little ahead of schedule here today. For our third evaluation, Stephen is going to come up here.
Thank you.
Well, I have the pleasure of evaluating Marjolaine's speech. And your speech, you had a goal to inspire us, and you did. We've talked in Toastmasters, and we've experienced in our last few meetings, that when people speak from the heart, or they tell a story that's really important to them, and it's emotional, it's so much better than even the best research speech with all the facts and data behind it. And I think you told an interesting story, and you told a story that had really 3 parts to me. A vivid beginning, there you were tying your shoe on the side of the road, and the next thing you know, you're looking up. Then we bridged to something that went on with a lot of time, I guess, in the hospital, and this discovery of Joe Pilates' invention. And then along the way, you mentioned that you want to make this available to people in every home. And that's something that I think we can all relate to. I mean, you're minding your own business, and the next thing you know, you're upside down. What happened? And it's nice to know that someone else in the world has come up with a solution to the problem that you have. But it sounded like it was awfully expensive, and it wasn't really available to people, and you needed insurance in order to afford this treatment. And you think about how many people have trouble with their posture, whether because of old age or because of accident, because of injury in the gym, or just bad habits. Maybe we all could benefit from that. So if I were listening to the speech again, I'd say, good, let's do that again. Let's keep telling the story. Imagine you've told it a few times. But a couple of things you might think about. It would be helpful to know more about your struggle from the time that you found yourself looking up at that lady to finding yourself in the Pilates studio. Was it pretty tough? I imagine it was. I'd like to know more about that. What type of things did you try? And then what happened later when you did get to Pilates? How did Pilates help you overcome whatever barrier you were up against with the more conventional treatments, with the things that no one else had, what Joe Pilates invented allowed you to accomplish? And the same thing about what did he do? What is it about this device he has that allows you to make your body better? If you could say that kind of briefly, I think that'd be helpful to folks to know that. I can kind of picture it, but I'm not quite sure. Maybe it has something to do with what you said about being in a horizontal position, doing a lot of the work in a vertical position. It seems pretty cool, maybe awesome, and it would be nice if we could understand that. And finally, this goal of having this special device in every home, something that could help everyone, I imagine that part of that's because you found a way to make it affordable. It's not some multi-$1,000 thing that's only available in a gym or a studio. How's it going? What are you doing to put that in every house? I think we would love to hear that, because that would be the second part of the inspirational story. First, this poor lady is upside down and maybe not going to be able to run for a long time. And now you're helping other people recover from the same or similar or even different things that affected you. So love the story, love the fact that you could turn adversity into a real opportunity to help people. I find that inspirational and I'd like to know more about it next time you get to talk to us. Thank you very much.
And tell us all that in 5 to 7 minutes. You speak too slowly. I think that's your point. Where are we here? Oh, we're a little ahead of schedule here. There are other people who've come to this podium. Let's evaluate some of them. Tom. Tom is clearly an experienced speaker. He's also got a lot of experience at being the president of our club, which is, unfortunately, his tenure is coming to an end. Sad. Well, I'll put on a sad face. But every time I think of that, I am sad because I get inspired when I see you speak at this podium. You're very clear, you're very paced, you're very present, and you were that today. A little bit nervous at one point, I noticed, but you recovered from that very nicely, and there you are sitting nice and calm right there. Our word master, you were funny. You were awesomely funny. That's your first time doing that, too. Thank you. Good choice of words, even if it is a little overused. I don't think we overused it in too awesomely a way. Our humorist, well, we had to sit in our seats, otherwise I would have been rolling on the floor. You were so funny. But you used your body, you used your voice very well. You're clearly a good storyteller, a good joke teller to start with, unless you don't have any other jokes. I don't know.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Seriously.
Okay. Well, you can get practice at Toastmasters.
Thank you.
Stephen, for table topics, you're always very sort of calm and present, and you were that today, very focused. I wish you would trip over more of your words so I could give you better feedback, but you don't. Okay, let's bring up our timer. Actually, yeah, bring up your timer. You have to be here today. You're going to tell us the time everybody took at various things.
Thank you, Eric. So Ken, right before the meeting, said, I'm going to speak for 6 minutes and 52 seconds. You went 1 second over that. Great job.
That's awesome.
It certainly is.
I couldn't resist.
Michael discovered that it was okay to wait until the green flag came up, and he went to 5 minutes and 38 seconds, so you have a few more seconds to tell us why you got better. And Marjolaine, you're at 7 minutes and 4 seconds, maybe 7 minutes and 3. It's right in that area. Perfectly well done. Thank you all.
Nicely timed. I should point out that I think you did mention this, that our speeches, every speech has a goal for going to some amount of time, and there's a range, like 5 to 7. Some speeches in some of the later projects go a little longer, sometimes 12 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes. It depends. And we usually have 3 speaking slots at every meeting, as we did today, that are 5 to 7. But sometimes someone will take 2 slots for a bigger project. The counter. So you're going to come up here and tell us all about who said and so on. Are you not?
I think so.
And we have about 30 seconds for that. Good use of
Thank you.
humor.
Thank you. Well, as for Ken, he used the word so and the word but about 5 times. That's all. Never heard an He did pause, which I think he was trying to collect his thoughts, but there was sort of a pregnant pause quite a few times. Oh, excuse me, I'm doing it. Michael likes the word so very much, beginning his sentences with so. I counted more than 10 of those. And Marjolaine. So that's the way it is. And Marjolaine, you had more than most, I believe, using the so as Michael did. Also on an occasional well and a couple of ums. And that's it.
You've probably already guessed, but the reason that we count ahs and ums is to clean our speech of these extraneous words that don't mean anything. And now I'd like to bring our president back up here to give our closing remarks.
All right.
You have 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
That's great. I would like to especially thank those of you who filled in at the last minute. We had several people who helped out at the last minute today. Jojo, thank you for your joke. Michael, for your speech. Marjolaine, for your speech. And thank you, Nancy, as well. And Ken, we appreciate your speech today. This was Ken's first speech as a Toastmaster, so very well done. And mostly I'd like to thank you, Stephen, for having put this all together for us tonight. It was Stephen's idea and combination here with SCAT to make this happen. And for a while we weren't sure if it was going to happen, but because of your leadership, you made it happen, and we all appreciate you. I just would like to make some closing comments about Toastmasters, but while we have just a couple of minutes, I want to say that our club meets in Andover at HP, and we meet on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month from noon until 1 o'clock. But there are other Toastmasters clubs in the area. There's a Toastmasters club right here in Somerville. And you can find out more information about Toastmasters by going to www.toastmasters.org. Toastmasters is working in over 100 countries. We work not just in English, but we work in Chinese and Spanish and French as well. But we're opening so many clubs now, for example, in developing countries to improve their English. It's a tremendous opportunity. In India right now, I believe they're opening a new club every week. Is that what I hear? More than one a week they're opening in India for Indians to improve their speaking in English. And we have members of our club who are non-native English speakers who join partly to improve their speaking ability and their fluency in English. Mostly we have people that join because they have an opportunity to learn to speak more fluently, to say what is on their mind. And as you've seen here today, you can have the most serendipitous moments in Toastmasters where you hear stories that are not just examples of speeches, but they're facets of a person's life that change us. And we didn't expect it. I learned things about Pilates. I didn't know anything about Pilates. I took 1 half-hour introduction to Pilates and I didn't get it. But I hear it now and I see how it changed your life, and I appreciate it. And Ken, I didn't know about how you could help people out of debt situations in ways that can help them, and how you yourself was. And Michael, your story about coming back from the dead. I mean, I didn't expect it. Neither did you, but we got it. You'll learn a lot in Toastmasters. You'll learn about yourself, and you learn about other people in ways that you didn't expect. And so that's one of those blessings, one of those special privileges about being in Toastmasters that we enjoy. So I want to encourage you, if you know somebody who really needs to improve their ability to speak and their ability to lead, maybe you don't need it so much, but maybe you know somebody who does, point them toward Toastmasters. Maybe it'll help them. We're not a panacea, but maybe we can help. All right? Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, and good night. So normally after this, we would